A made promises to marry B and thereby got close to her, after which she got pregnant. Subsequently, A convinced B that he shall marry her, provided she terminate her 6 months pregnancy. B did not consent to it, due to which he refused to marry her. Could A be held liable for cheating? Today we shall cover the offence of cheating provided under section 415 of the Indian Penal Code. We shall dissect the provision and study what the actus reus and mens rea of the provision are, and then on to the essential ingredients of the offence. Then we shall discuss some problems in the activity session, and finally the problem to ponder for you to answer. So stay tuned till the end. You're watching Law Cities, the mini law lecture series. The meaning and definition of the offence of cheating is provided under section 415 of the Indian Penal Code. The provision has a definition part and an explanation part. Law recognizes two kinds of cheating which is clearly revealed in the provision. We shall label them as cheating first part and cheating second part for better understanding. So on to the essential ingredients of cheating first part provided under section 415 IPC. There must be a deception. And by that deception, the accused must induce the other person to deliver any property to any person or consent that any person shall retain any property. If so, it would amount to cheating first part, provided the deception was fraudulent and dishonest. Moving on to the essential ingredients of cheating, second part. Here again, there must be deception. And by that deception, the accused has induced the person to do or omit to do something, which as a matter of fact has caused or was likely to cause damage or harm to the victim in body, mind, reputation or property. If so, it would amount to cheating second part, provided the deception was intentional. Alright, so now let us see each of the essential ingredients of cheating in detail. Firstly, the actus reus part of section 415 IPC, which is deception. Deception happens to be the chief ingredient of the offence of cheating, and it is evident from the terms of the provision which reads as whoever by deceiving any person, etc., etc., indicating that deception is the requisite actus reus for the offence of cheating as per this provision. So here let us first check what is the meaning of deception. The explanation to the provision provides for the meaning of deception, which says a dishonest concealment of facts is deception. Thus, if a person either expressly or impliedly causes another person to believe what is false and disbelieve what is true, then he is said to deceive the latter person as per this provision. Got it? Okay. So now let us see the different modes of deception in order to attract liability under section 415 IPC. Put in other words, what all kinds of deception would amount to cheating as per this provision. Section 415 of the Indian Penal Code envisages two ways of deception. Deception inducing a person to deliver or retain property, and deception inducing a person to commit or omit an act. It is to be noted here that deception must necessarily precede inducement in both of these situations. Clear? That is, the victim must be induced to deliver or retain property or commit or omit an act because of the deception of the accused. Only then it would attract liability under section 415 IPC. And in Ramnaran Populi versus CBI, it was held that deception can either be by express words or by conduct. So I guess the actus reus part of cheating is clear. Moving on to the mens rea element. In the first kind of cheating, where the deception caused by the accused is to induce the victim to deliver or retain property, the requisite mens rea is dishonestly or fraudulently. And in the second kind of cheating, where the deception caused by the accused is to induce the victim to do or omit to do anything, the requisite mens rea is intentionally. And you know what all these mens rea elements signify, isn't it? Very briefly stating, Dishonestly is intentional act of causing wrongful gain and wrongful loss. Fraudulently is intention to defraud. And intentionally is knowledge of the consequences of the act and desiring to achieve it. Please don't miss to watch my earlier video on mens rea in the Indian Penal Code, wherein all of these terms are discussed distinctly with illustrations. Okay then, now on to the activity session. First problem. Swami Brahmachari had made false assertions that the yoga course run by him through the Vishwayatan Yogashram was recognized by the Government of India, thereby inducing the unwary students to obtain admission paying ₹1,000 by way of caution deposit. What is the liability of the Swami? Here, in order to check whether it is a case of cheating or not, you need to first check whether there is deception. And once the deception is proved, you need to ascertain whether the deception had induced any person to deliver or retain any property, or to do or omit to do anything. And of course, to check the mental element lastly, that is dishonestly, fraudulently, or intentionally. If the answer to all these tests are yes, then the offense committed is nothing but cheating. Coming back to the present case, here, because of the Swami's false assertions, which definitely is deception, the students were induced to obtain admission paying an amount of ₹1,000 by way of caution deposit. In other words, the Swami's deception had induced the students to do something which they otherwise wouldn't have done, thus amounting to cheating if done with intention. And obviously his act was intentional, isn't it? When he's claiming that the yoga course run by him is recognized by the Government of India, he is deemed to be knowing what he is doing, as also is aware of the consequences of the act, and not to mention of his desire to achieve it, isn't it? So, the intention part is also evident. Therefore, the Swami could definitely be charged for the offense of cheating. And now on to the second problem. A made promises to marry B and thereby got close to her, after which she got pregnant. Subsequently, A convinced B that he shall marry her, provided she terminate her 6 months pregnancy. B did not consent to it, due to which he refused to marry her. Could A be held liable for cheating? It is true that it is a commonly encountered issue. But does it amount to cheating? Let us apply the test here. Firstly, to check whether there is deception. Here, A's promises were merely false assurance of marriage, isn't it? Because of which she got close to him and became pregnant. Which means the deception had paved way for inducement to do something which otherwise B would not have done. And here again, intention could be read in. Hence, A could definitely be held liable for cheating. And here, the problem for you to ponder upon. X told that he had divine healing powers through his touches and thereby made Y believe that he could cure his little girl of her congenital dumbness through his powers. Believing the promises, Y shelled out money to the godman. Does this amount to cheating? Please post your answers in the comment box along with all your valuable feedbacks and suggestions. And if you like the video, kindly share it and subscribe to Law Cities for upcoming lectures. Till we meet next, bye.